It's the Real News Network. I'm Sharmini Perez coming to you from Baltimore. The Crown Prosecution Services of England and Wales is due to announce the results of a criminal investigation into election expense violations allegedly committed by members of the Conservative Party of Theresa May. Just less than 1 month from the snap general election called for by the Prime Minister, the ruling Conservative Party could find a number of its MPs charged with violating election spending restrictions. Originally, this story broke in the independent news outlet, The Canary, with assistance of multiple whistleblowers. Joining us today to discuss the nature of the election spending scandal is Steve Topple. Steve is an independent journalist and political and social commentator. Steve, very good to have you with us.
Thank you, Sharmini.
Steve, let's begin with you describing what exactly the CPS's criminal investigation is looking into and the role that the Canary had in triggering these investigations.
Okay, so in layman's terms, this goes back to the allegations again of local spending being declared as national spending. Specifically with this story, a company called Return Marketing was doing work for the Conservatives. It was specifically targeting possible Conservative voters in marginal constituencies and ringing them up and doing what is known as push polling, which is essentially where a marketeer asks leading questions of someone to try and get the answers that would lead them to maybe consider voting Conservative. The issue here is that Return Marketing set up a specific office outlet, if you like, to target particular constituencies for local campaigns. But again, this money was declared as national spending. And furthermore, to the story as well, the Conservatives declared that they were using Return Marketing between March and May of 2015, when in fact the whistleblowers that have come to the Canary said that they were actually working with Return Marketing from November 2014. So it's kind of a two-pronged, if you like, story. Firstly, that they were declaring local spending with Return Marketing as national spending, and also that they failed to declare the true extent of how much work Return Marketing had done for the party.
Right. And there's also a separate story that was more widely reported in the press regarding the so-called Conservative battle bus. What is it and how does it fit into this entire story?
Okay, so the Conservative battle bus, much like you have, I believe, in the US with your presidential candidates, was a bus emblazoned with the Conservative Party logo, a massive Union Jack flag smothered across it, and its prime purpose was to ferry activists and Conservative Party candidates across the country to constituencies where the party deemed it needed to increase its campaigning, again, these marginal constituencies. So this battle bus was ferrying supporters to campaign centres across the UK. But again, and this is the crux of the whole story surrounding Conservative election fraud, it was declared as national spending, not local spending, which it should have been the latter, not the former, allegedly.
Right. Explain that a bit further. What is local spending and what is national spending when it comes to the elections, and why are there stipulations as to how you can use that money?
Sure, okay. So with regards to local spending, in the 2015 general election, the Electoral Commission set a level of just under £15,000 as the amount that each MP candidate could spend on local campaigning in their constituency. This would be anything from adverts in newspapers to hotel bills for supporters and press and marketing people to come and stay in the constituency. It would also be leafleting. The differences between that and national spending includes such items as the political party broadcasts that we have on television, national campaigning on national issues, not local issues, and appearances, for example, by Theresa May, the Prime Minister. Her appearances and her transport and hotel costs would be included in national spending. So it's clearly defined by the Electoral Commission what is local spending and what is national spending, and this is where the crux of this story comes from, if you like, that things were declared nationally which were apparently blatantly local spending, and the Conservatives failed to declare. The figures are varying, if you like, but anything up to hundreds of thousands of pounds, which is crucial, and it could result in possible fines and possible prosecutions of the MPs and the party employees that were involved.
Right. And how many Conservative Party MPs are involved in these irregularities?
Okay, so we have no definitive list as such. There have been investigations and rumours by numerous media outlets. Currently, we do know that the Crown Prosecution Service are investigating allegations against 30 people involved with the Conservative Party. However, there is no current breakdown of whether these people are MPs or whether they are campaigners or employees of the Tories. We know there are some MPs involved. Rumours say it's anything up to 28 MPs. And if I could just say at this point, this is kind of the crux of the story for a lot of people, that if it includes up to 28 MPs, that is more than the Conservative Party's majority that they gained at the last general election. So working on the theory that if they are found guilty and if they're either fined or possibly imprisoned, then the last election could well be declared null and void because these people were elected using money they theoretically shouldn't have.
Right. And is this par for the course in terms of election spending? In other words, is the Labour Party also involved and implicated in violating electoral expense rules of this sort?
Okay, I mean, you know, politics is dirty in the US, and it's fairly stained over here, if you like. Yes, Labour have been fined under electoral spending rules themselves as well. They were fined £20,000 last year for failing to declare some national spending, £8,000 on what's a quite infamous campaign by the Labour Party in the UK. It was something called the Ed Stone, where the then leader Ed Miliband put his 5 pledges that he made to the electorate carved into this massive piece of rock and paraded it in front of the media. That was not declared at all in their spending, and there was also irregularities concerning other areas of national spending. The difference is here that Labour were charged and fined for around £18,000 worth of national spending that was undeclared, whereas the implications for the Conservative Party is, again, it's back to this local campaigning and local spending, which was declared nationally. So while there are differences, Labour have been in hot water over this as well. The other main party in the UK, the Liberal Democrats, were also fined around £20,000 for not declaring properly their expenses. So they're all at it. It's just the Conservatives appear to be more at it than the other parties.
So this throws not only Theresa May, but the victory of the former Conservative MP's election in 2015 and all of that into question, the legitimacy of the entire Conservative Party and its reign.
Indeed, that's the bottom line. Many people are saying that if the Conservatives are found guilty of this and they could be sent to prison, the people involved, for anything up to a year, then that surely must throw into question the legitimacy of the election. And as I previously said, the majority for the Conservatives is 16 MPs. It's so small that if these MPs were found to be guilty, it could well overturn the majority if the Electoral Commission decides that the election has to be rerun. And that is the crucial point here. There are no guarantees, however, that whatever the outcome of the prosecutions, that the Electoral Commission will say that, well, there now has to be a rerun of these elections. No one is guaranteeing that as yet. We're all still waiting to hear. It's very much an up-in-the-air story, if you like.
And will this have impact on the upcoming snap election? I mean, are these MPs that are being investigated still sitting to run in this coming election? And how will it be, all this scandalous election fraud allegations being received by the public? And will it have an impact in this election, which seems to be heavily weighted in favor of the current government of Theresa May?
Okay, I'll deal with that in 2 points. Firstly, yes, it could well have implications because we found out just yesterday that the Crown Prosecution Service will start releasing their findings in regards to their investigations this week, which we are now 4 weeks away from the general election in the UK. So if the Crown Prosecution start announcing that they are going to be formally investigating and possibly charging people with potential fraud, then this will have implications on the general election. But again, it's up to the Electoral Commission to see what they will do. With regards to your second point about voters, that's a different kettle of fish. I mean, the opinion polls in the UK still put the Conservative Party, the last one I saw was the Tories were on 48%, with Labour on, I believe, 29%. The Tories still have a clear lead in this election. If you believe opinion polls, some people do, some people don't, then that's fairly confident, if you like, that the Conservatives will win this election. However, we'll wait and see. There are a lot of determining factors here, and everything is still to play for. However, the public so far the majority of the public do not seem to be too concerned about this. But I think maybe when the Crown Prosecution Service release their findings, then the media will pick up on it a bit more and the public may become more interested. Again, we'll have to wait and see.
Steve Topple, I thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope you can join us as this situation unfolds in the UK elections.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for joining us here on the Real News Network.